Unbiased History of Rome, Episode 7, the first Triumvirate. We know what I meant. If you haven't already, head over to their page, links in the description box down below. Let's jump straight into this. Part 7.
No friend ever served me, no enemy ever wronged me, whom I have now repaid in full. Such were the immortal words of the great Sulla, well, before he died of boy pussy overload. But his death does lead us into a new era of Roman history, that of the late Republic. These were the times of giants, my dearest pleb, well and truly overdone by better history channels. And due to the sheer amount of important events all happening simultaneously, we'll have to cover the main wars of the period, yes, but at the same time introduce the three great men who would define the age. So first, we begin with an ironic state of affairs. As you remember, due to Sulla's rightful purge of the Popularis faction, almost all of them died, but those who did survive were among the few great men in it, such as Sertorius, whose fame as a brilliant general attracted the attention of the rebelling Lusitanian tribes, whom Sertorius used to lead the Popularis revolt and take over all of Hispania. First reaction was to send a Metellus to fix things, dooming him to an unending guerrilla war, just in time for yet another Mithridatic war to trigger. So okay, what is guiding Mithridates' bloodlust this time, you ask? Well, the king of Bithynia, having no heirs, he willed his kingdom to Rome.
Submissive slut through.
Mithridates, absolutely seething, refused to accept, invading the province, restarting the conflict and laying siege to Cyzicus. Sent to stop him was the consul of the year, Lucullus, whom would stand by and watch as Jupiter destroyed Mithridates' siege weapons in a storm. And then he fucking threw a meteor at some point. Yeah, true story. Lucullus later took this chance to cut off his supply lines, forcing him to flee east, and pursuing him all the way back to Pontus. Back in Hispania, Sertorius' guerrilla war continued to drag on. To help Metellus, the Senate sent Gnaeus Pompeius to Hispania, our first soon-to-be triumvir. Born to a rural patrician family and an optimate's father, Pompey started out his adult life after his father was mortally struck by lightning. If you're worried about the frequency of Romans dying to lightning strikes, just you wait until that happens to an emperor. Back to Pompey, he was able to dodge false accusations of theft while on trial. So elegantly in fact that the judge was like, "Whoa, you're awesome! Here, please fuck my daughter." Which he did. Later on, during Sulla's march to Rome, he raised his father's veteran legions to help him. Thankful, Sulla had him divorced and marry his pregnant stepdaughter, whom died in childbirth, so whatever. Later marrying Mucia, having 3 kids with her. I'm boring you with this because they will be relevant later on. Well, the 2 boys at least, so feel free to forget her. As Sulla's supporter, Pompey gained fame by crushing several Popularis revolts in the Mediterranean, including one done by Brutus. No, his father. A relevant detail for later. In his return, Pompey would be named Magnus by Sulla, somewhat ironically, then letting him have a triumph despite being far too young and using elephants instead of horses, also somewhat ironically. It was this Pompey that landed on Hispania. Admittedly, he was trashed on once he got there. He was facing Sertorius after all, but Metellus came to his rescue. And thanks to Sertorius' barbarian army idiotic decision to attack them head-on, they were defeated, forcing Sertorius to retreat, later on being betrayed by one of his fellow Popularis revolutionaries, whom seized his command position. What a shitty faction. Meanwhile, back in Capua, a lone Thracian slave toiled away in a gladiatorial school, being taught how to entertain his Roman masters and add some significance to his miserable existence. But this Thracian hated Rome, and oh how much he did. Such was his rage that he led a revolt with his fellow slaves, stealing kitchen knives, killing the guards, and breaking out, proceeding to steal gladiatorial weapons and rampage through southern Italy. Being stuck between 2 massive wars in opposite fronts, Rome could only afford sending 2 waves of plebs to face them, whom were all killed, predictably enough, by that Mount Vesuvius' base. And I swear, the moment the god Vulcanus finds out that a band of filthy slaves has occupied his home, he's gonna go mad. Mark my fucking words. Given the size of the slave revolt, a senator named Marcus Licinius Crassus offered to help, another soon-to-be triumvir. And the bane of communists worldwide, being a man who actually earned his fortune. I know, imagine that. Born to your standard patrician family, Crassus had his family's wealth seized by Cinna's dictatorship, being forced to flee to Hispania to avoid the Red Terror. Later joining up forces with Sulla in his march to Rome, assisting him while fighting Carbo. And after Sulla made his proscriptions, Crassus would have his revenge, buying up a lot of the confiscated Popularis property for dirt cheap. With this newfound wealth, he would buy not 1, not 2, but 500 slaves, whom he used to form the world's first firefighting force. So here's the story. Once a fire broke out, usually at some careless pleb's house, he would wait as it burned before the pleb agreed to sell it for cheap. Then the slaves put off the fire, rebuilt it, and now he had another place to rent as a landlord. By the end of this, Crassus would amass a wealth of over 7,000 talents. That's around $10 billion in today's money. But despite such success...
Okay.
I see you. You haven't liked the video yet. Why not? Go on, go like it. While you're at it, you know you want to subscribe. And if you want to go to our social medias, all the links you need are in the description box down below. And you might as well head over to our Patreon as well, where you can get extra bonus content if you're enjoying this. That link's in the description box down below. But we'll get straight back into the video. Love you guys.
But instead of getting their supposedly desired freedom, they showed their true colors, choosing to go back and continue to ransack Italy, like the barbarians they were. After a long march south, Crassus then met with a Gallic splinter group, destroying their forces and continually pushing Spartacus further south. Desperate, Spartacus struck a deal with Sicilian pirates to ferry his forces to Sicily, where he could continue to ransack the place. But they just took the payment and fucked off.
Yeah, they were never gonna...
just returned from Hispania, having ambushed and killed Perpenna, and helping to encircle Spartacus. Crassus would then crush the slave armies in battle, while Pompey mopped up those who fled. And just to make his point clear, Crassus had all 6,000 survivors crucified along the Appian Way, being left to suffer a fraction of the pain they inflicted upon the civilized world. From this point on, every time a slave passed by the area, the living image of Crassus would haunt them and remind them of their miserable, barbarian, servile existence. So that's two triumvirs, with one more to go. His origins stretch back to the legendary hero Aeneas himself, whom fathered Iolaus, the progenitor of the gens Julia, one of the Alban patrician families Hostilius would bring into. Forgotten to most was that the gens Julia had made a pact. Instead of being like the other clans and occasionally generating outstanding individuals from time to time, the Julia sought to reserve their uniquely divine power until it was most needed. Centuries passed, with the gens Juliae embracing a stoic life away from glory. Forgotten to most. And now, with the Republic nearing collapse and Rome being surrounded by enemies, it finally happened. The birth of a kind of prodigy that happens only once every era. A man of unparalleled power, intellect, and ambition. The greatest Roman to have ever lived. His name was Gaius Julius Caesar. And that's how you pronounce it. But I'll call him Gaius Julius Caesar anyway. Saves me the trouble. Born to a humble patrician family, Caesar would spend his early life instigating both awe and fear in those who met him. At his coming of age, after his father's death and during Sulla's civil war, Caesar realized the truth everyone denied. The Republic had been founded in good spirit for virtuous patricians alone, an impossibility with the influx of plebs into the Senate and the unending barbarian threats that so forced Rome to bend its rules. Caesar pondered heavily on the plebeian question, and while genocide was a quick solution, his pure patrician blood revolted him towards such violent ends. And so, there remained only one solution. To bring the plebs under the leash, and to achieve that, he had to join the Popularis faction, to his immense disgust. And all under Cinna's takeover no less, whom would make Caesar the high priest of Jupiter, and marry him to his daughter. Both events that Sulla would unmake once he took over. In truth, Sulla could see the latent power inside Caesar, and fearing the rise of an even stronger Marius, he had him banished from Rome. Despite this, Caesar persisted in his quest, joining the military in his late father's province of Asia, where he would help crush some Sicilian pirates in Lesbos along with Lucullus, well enough to gain a civic crown for it. An impressive feat, which Sulla, holder of the grass crown himself, and after much bitching from Caesar's mother, allowed Caesar to return Rome. There he would become a famous orator, swooning the ladies with his divine beauty and inspiring the men with his alpha male vigor. Such was his success that he set sail to teach the Greeks in Rhodes how to be good orators, which was when his ship was attacked by Sicilian pirates. Yes, them again. Initially, they wanted 20 talents for his ransom, but after seeing a fraction of Caesar's power level, they immediately raised it to 5,000, but he told them to keep it at 50, being modest and all, casually reminding them that he would have them all crucified. They were laughing at him when he said that, but they sure weren't as he was nailing them to the cross. The next time we cover a divine individual and a cross will be a while from now. Until then, let's return to our unfinished business in the East, where Mithridates was still alive, annoyingly enough. Lucullus had done his best to pursue him deep into Armenian lands, having defeated his allied king Tigranes in battle along the way. But Mithridates decided to abandon his ally, retaking his Pontic kingdom through Lucullus's back. It was around this time that Pompey was finally sent to rain order down the pirate haven of Sicilia, on his way meeting with Lucullus, whom he had descended the moat and take his command position. Mithridates barely had time to relax before Pompey stormed his forces, pushing him way back north, where he would kill his own traitorous son. Instead of pursuing him, Pompey saw the decadent, unstable state that the East was in, running a series of campaigns to civilize the region, and installing several puppet states. Among the chaotic eastern kingdoms was that of the Hasmonean Jewish kingdom. And yeah, we finally got to the Jews. They'll be a huge nuisance for Rome as we go on, up until the future Emperor Hadrian comes along, whom hate the Jews so much it's hard to believe. But the Christians were already around, so yeah. In this case, the Jewish king Hyrcanus had been Jewed out of his Jewish throne by his Jewish brother Aristobulus II. They both came to Pompey to mediate their dispute. He told them to chill for a while he visited Petra, but Aristobulus was impatient, returning to Judea to claim his kingdom. This infuriated Pompey, marching his troops down to Jerusalem, where Aristobulus eventually fled to. The Jewish civilians loyal to Hyrcanus was smart enough to let Pompey's troops in, but the priests refused to yield, barricading themselves on the Temple Mount. It was well fortified, but then came the day of the Sabbath, during which, as it happens, Jews are forbidden to meddle with the enemy unless being directly attacked, a fact Pompey exploited to deploy his battering ram. And the Jews, just let him do it. Sure enough, he broke through it the next day and slaughtered some 12,000 Jews, making Judea and its neighbors all client states of Rome.
Dear.
Just paint it all red. Much better. You gotta respect the Jews though. No matter how many times they get slaughtered, they never give up on their Jewish ways. A lesson the future Emperor Hadrian would vehemently refuse to learn. God, he really hated Jews. And of course, I couldn't end without telling you that Mithridates had another one of his sons betray him. Tired of it all, he tried to poison himself. But, being so possessed by evil, being Greek and all, it had no effect on him. So he just had his bodyguard stab him to death. Okay. A violent end for a violent Greek.
Fair.
But I'm afraid the fun has just begun. For the next time, we will focus solely on the legendary life of Caesar, his consulship, the Gallic Wars, his righteous civil war, and his righteous assassination. I hope to see you then, plebs. Ciao, ciao.
You definitely will see us, and if you haven't watched his stuff already, you know what to do. Go over to his channel, that link's in the description box down below so you can watch the series yourself. We're thoroughly enjoying it. It's been a minute since we got to it. We know we're terrible, but 2025 is the new year.
New chains come out. Ones that don't snap.
We hope you guys enjoyed. If you have, you know what you need to do. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will catch you in the next video.
Toodle.